So I'm on my chair and he's on my bed and he pulls the chair closer to him. He pulls me closer to him and my legs are in between his. Our thighs are brushing. His hands are like entangled in my hair and on my cheeks and they're like everywhere. And I'm just thinking, are we really about to do this? Like, I mean, I've had a crush on him for a month, right? And then we kissed. Well, no, not quite. That's just the name of the podcast.
Julia and a guy sitting in a tree. Kissing.
Hello, hello. My name is Julia, and you're listening to And Then We Kissed, a podcast on the funny, the confusing, and the unforgettable stories behind my kiss list. I'm here with Flo.
Hello, hello.
He's back.
Once again, I'm back. Glad to join you.
For anyone who's new, Flo is my best friend and one of the best witnesses regarding my dating life.
Sadly.
He has also supported me through most of the stuff that went on with the man that we're talking about today.
Freaking car crash. Absolute disaster.
Yeah, I really had no idea how entangled this entire thing was gonna get. But here we are. Well, you know, I mean, this season so far, you guys have got to see all kinds of sides of me going through this hoe phase, right? But I haven't always been in a hoe phase, obviously. And I thought it was time for me to tell you the beginning of it all. You know, the guy that kind of started the hoe phase today. We're going to talk about number 65. The story about someone who pulled me in and the lessons I had to learn to pull myself back. As always, we're not trying to make anyone out as the bad guy. There's no right or wrong. Everyone makes mistakes. And we also only have my side of the story and how I remember it. And then we've also changed details to protect the privacy of everyone involved.
And we're using nicknames, of course.
Yes, we are. Number 65 is called Onyx. I'm going to be real. I kind of forgot why. But I'll try and explain later. Flo, what are you drinking today?
Today, I brought a classic. It is Mountain Dew.
Bam, bam, bam.
I haven't had this in like years. I think I was like quite young, like a teenager when last time I had it. And I just saw it like in the supermarket and I really wanted to get it. Because it is toxic green. And I think that's very fitting for this episode.
I actually didn't know that they sell that stuff in Germany. I thought that was just an American only thing.
It tastes very, very
bad.
Sweet. No, it doesn't.
Oh, my first boyfriend drank it. Sorry, I just remembered. But he had it in a bottle. I've never seen it in a can.
Yeah, I also have never seen it in a can, but I thought like a can is very good for the ASMR when I'm like going to open it.
Flo, for real, is so like in it to get that ASMR moment, and it's about to happen. It's about to happen.
Doesn't this sound perfect?
Okay.
So, what do you have?
I'm drinking a Rooibos tea lemonade. I'm sorry, I was struggling trying to translate this. It's in German, obviously. I'm really sorry about that. But it's basically like a dark red lemonade. I think I've had this brand before on here. I had that orange lemonade that I kind of hated, and then I really grew on it. And I kind of thought yesterday when I was buying lemonade, why not try it again?
Why not try it again then? Time to open it so we can cheers.
Everyone shut up for a second. Oh, that was so disappointing.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that good. Like, that's where the cans come in handy, to be honest.
But the glass straw and the glass bottle.
Oh, this sounds perfect.
That was nice. Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
I actually choose your hand. Come back.
No, you
cheers. I like this one a lot better than the orange one.
Yeah, this basically just tastes like
green
lemonade.
Oh.
You cannot really taste colors, to be honest.
Oh, you can't?
No,
I feel like this tastes red.
Wait, let me try. You can also try my super sweet American drink.
I don't know if I want to. Okay, I will.
Well, it's definitely something. I thought it has more flavor to it.
I'm gonna be real, I actually really like yours. I was surprised because I'm not one for like American sugary drinks.
You know, I smoke, for example, and I drink a lot of alcohol. But sugar out of the can basically is the incarnation of hell.
What was your point?
No, I rarely drink it.
Oh.
This is because it's like a special occasion where I'm like actually enjoying this drink.
All right, let's get into Onyx. Car crash that it was. At least that's what Sophie called it. Yeah, to set the scene, this was kind of the beginning of my hoe phase. I was kind of testing the waters. I was already sleeping around like in a more casual way, but it was at a time where, well, to be quite frank, I didn't know how to flirt at the time. I had no idea. It's not that I didn't, it's just that I didn't know how I did it. It kind of felt like every single encounter that I had was just luck.
So you kind of were like just the basic man that doesn't know how to flirt.
Yeah, I was essentially just a man. Yeah, at the time, for like months to an end, I found a bar that I really liked and I started going to it quite regularly.
Yeah, that's like our favorite bar, I think. We went to it like so many times. I cannot even like
It's
count
still a
it.
favorite. It is still one of my favorites, I would say. But anyway, I digress. I was going to this bar regularly at the time, like a couple of times a week. Obviously, when you start to go somewhere a couple of times a week, you start to like really remember the people's faces. And I was always sitting at the bar, and there was this one bartender who I thought was kind of cute. After going there for months, I remember one time sitting down, and I think one of the first things he said, you know, do you want your regular drink? Like, he named the name of what I was always getting, and I felt a certain sense of thrill because at the time I was not known amongst bars. I'm now, but I wasn't at the time.
You felt seen
Yes.
when he actually knows what you always order.
I felt seen. That's exactly it. But I could still sense that I was still a customer and he was still a bartender. I could sense that he was only viewing me as a customer. A couple of more months go by. I'm still going there regularly. I was there one time on a date and I was sitting outside and I was wearing one of my drop dead gorgeous dresses. I know that
All your dresses are drop dead
I only
gorgeous.
have one. But
See, I wasn't lying.
yeah, but I was wearing like the dress that I feel the prettiest in. I really thought, I didn't just think, I knew that I looked really, really, really good that day. As I said, we were sitting outside, so I hadn't seen him yet. And I walk inside, I go to the toilet, and then I come back. And he was standing at the end of the bar. And it was almost like I was walking towards him. And I could see in his eyes, he suddenly looked at me very differently. Like, he suddenly didn't just view me as a customer. He viewed me as someone that was like gorgeous, desirable.
It feels like your brain just starts to work out a plan how to get to this person.
Exactly, that's how it felt. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know if you've ever experienced that like moment, that shift. I've noticed it since then happened with a couple of people, but at the time, that was one of the first times that I noticed the shift happen from the way he saw me before that to the way he then saw me.
I haven't really experienced myself, to be honest. But just like this feeling when you're love on the first sight, basically. Which of course isn't love, but when you like see someone who's like that attractive.
Maybe something like that, I don't know. Well, anyway, so there was a shift and he just suddenly saw me very differently. And no, actually at the time I hadn't seen him again because then I was very, very busy and I wasn't really going out. So 1 or 2 months go by between him seeing me very differently and then I come back. I was done being extremely busy and I was bored out of my mind. It was a Saturday night. No one that I knew had any time. I was meant to have plans, but the people had to cancel, unfortunately. So I did what I always do, and I went on the dating app of my choice, and I started swiping. And basically, the first guy that was free, I immediately was like, let's fucking meet up.
So you want to tell me you were just like bored and horny on a Saturday and it wasn't even a Sunday?
At the time, Sundays weren't a thing. The Sunday sex thing wasn't a thing.
Sundays weren't a thing.
Sundays didn't actually happen until I invented them. No, but like the Sunday sex thing wasn't a thing at the time because I wasn't actually into casual sex as much at that point. I was just testing the waters and I wasn't meeting up with them to have sex. I was meeting up with them because I wanted to flirt, because I wanted to go on a date. That has been like a thing for me basically for as long as I can remember. The sex part is what really changed in the last couple of years. So I match with a guy and we immediately go on a date. We eventually end up at that regular bar and we sit down and the bar was empty. That really wasn't a lot going on. My date immediately goes to the toilet and at that point I had forgotten the shift dress moment because a lot had been going on between those two moments. For me, it was just like, okay, nice seeing him again. The bartender starts talking to me, just like small talk, which he had never done before, mind you, never. We had never had small talk. It was only just like, what's your order, whatever. And he starts talking to me and I can sense like something is different. But at the time, I was not able to decipher social situations like that. So I just had like a feeling something is different, but I didn't really know what.
Your spidey sensing.
The spidey sensing. I will say, actually,
senses were tingling.
Mind you, Flo has obviously heard most of it. Been there for most of it. But the beginning with him, Flo and I weren't really that close yet. And I know for sure that you're actually going to hear details today that you haven't heard before.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I'm just as hyped up now about the whole story.
Exciting! The tea. So my date comes back. And I guess we start the date or something. I don't know.
We start the date.
We start the date.
Now.
And the bartender's still like talking to me, I guess maybe flirting. Looking back, he was flirting with me. And I know that my date really minded. My date had a massive issue with the fact that the bartender, like Onyx, was flirting with me. Onyx starts busying himself even though there's nothing to do, and he kind of gives us like more privacy. And the date goes on, and the date is absolutely terrible. There's really not much to say about it. It was just a terrible date. You know, it's the risk you take when you don't do a background check, you know, when you're just like, I want to go on a date and I want to do it now. Eventually, I actually broke off the date.
You actually broke off the date?
Yeah, no, I really did. We were sitting on the, like, on one ends of the bar. After talking about himself for the entire time, he's like, so do you want to go back to my place or to yours? And I'm like, shut the fuck up. What are you on about?
The audacity of a very terrible date
the audacity.
to just ask this.
Like, there was no sense for the vibes that was going on. I was bored out of my mind. There wasn't a lot of people, but everyone could sense that I didn't want to be there. And he's just like, do you want to go back to my place? And then I essentially just said that he's too stupid for me. And then I hadn't even finished my drink. And so we were just sitting there like in an awkward moment after I said that. He kind of doesn't really know what to say. And then I take my drink because I wasn't finished yet. And I just sit at the other end of the bar and I go away. I'm not done drinking my drink. I'm not just going to pay fucking 10 euros or whatever it was at the time and just like up and leave.
I like this move. It's such a boss queen girl move.
I mean,
I don't even know how to describe this even better.
Also, I was thinking the entire time during the date, like I was trying to figure out a way to get rid of my date so I could stay at the bar and talk to Onyx. Because I knew that something was going on. There was like a vibe. I didn't really have anything else to do. I knew that like this was one of the rare moments that he was at work and he didn't have that much to do. So I wanted to stay. But then so Onyx was like not at the bar, but his colleague was. I kind of sat there. I drank my drink. I was really tense with my day, but who cares about him now? I'm waiting if Onyx comes back, but he doesn't. And so I eventually ask for the check, I pay, and then I go out and leave. And then I see Onyx. I can see him from like further away before I go out. I can see that he's standing outside. So he's talking to some older man. And I gather every single bit of courage that I have ever had. Ever. Because, again, at the time, I was also scared to approach people. It really wasn't my forte. But I knew this was a chance. And I just kind of told myself, you know what? Just say goodbye. Just say goodbye. It's all cool. Just say goodbye. Leave. Maybe there will be another chance. So I go up to him and I'm like, hey, don't mean to interrupt you guys. I just want to say goodbye. Onyx stands up and he gets really, really, really close to me. And he hugs me. And then he like pulls away. But he stays within like almost in a distance where we could have kissed.
Oh my god.
In front of this old guy, in public. He's like really, really close. He's like, okay, goodbye. Actually, are you free next Sunday? So Sunday in a week. And I was like, yeah, why? And I could not believe that this was happening. I could not believe it. And he was like, well, I have to give you a much better date than that.
Oh my god.
Holy fucking hell.
The confidence.
The hotness. That was so sexy.
Yeah, I bet.
Dude, I have like shivers all over me again from just retelling this. And it's been ages since that happened. That felt like a whole moment right there, like a book talk moment.
The book talk moment.
That was written by a woman, that moment. It was so sexy. And so we exchanged numbers. Well, actually, no, he gave me his number. Then I did something for which at the time was really out of nowhere for me. I touched his arm, his shoulder, I don't know. And I said, okay, we'll see you next Sunday. And I kind of like smiled at him. And I know it doesn't sound like a big deal, but I was scared shitless of flirting at the time. I was scared of touching people. It was really difficult for me. So that just felt like, where the fuck did that come from? And then I just left.
You just...
Like the conversation was over.
Yeah.
It wasn't like out of nowhere, but I was just like, okay, see you next Sunday. And then I just left and I let him like watch me walk away.
I mean, it doesn't sound too bad, to be honest.
No, not
just for the starting to flirt.
No, I actually think that was really cool of me.
Yeah, I mean,
is what I'm trying to say.
We can agree on that.
Pop off queen. I go home that night. I think one of the first things that I did was actually call a friend of mine. And I was just telling her what just happened because I was like, what in the hell? This felt like a movie. It's not something especially at the time, that really happened to me. I mean, also I've talked about this with Sophie. It's not a done thing necessarily in Germany that you just get asked out of nowhere. But then also, it especially hadn't happened to me a lot at the time. And it really felt like a movie with the way he had done it and everything. And it really wasn't anything I was expecting. So I'm calling a friend, I'm telling her about this. And she's like, oh my God, we're freaking out, whatever. And then I decide to text him. And he immediately replies. And we are like texting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's so intense. And the intimacy, you can almost like feel it. It's electrifying. And then maybe it's like 4 or 5 a.m. at that point. And I just call him out of nowhere.
That is so weird, because I can't even remember when I actually have called someone I went on a date with before even going on a date with the person.
I don't know. I've always been someone that has a somewhat easy time calling people. I don't really mind cold calling people. And we were in the middle of a conversation. I just kind of thought, we were texting back and forth so much. I thought, why not just hop on a call? I don't know. And I also had just taken melatonin, so I really wasn't thinking anything of it. I was like thinking, okay, we'll talk for 10 minutes, get this out of our system, and that's it, and then we'll both go to sleep. So he answered the phone call, and he was kind of confused but kind of pleased. And he had also told me that he had just taken melatonin. And we started talking, and we talked more, and we talked more, and we talked more, and we talked more. And the intimacy, again, felt even more intense than over text. Again, so electrifying. There were, like, sexual hints, but it never actually progressed to phone sex. That wasn't on the table. It just really felt like... I'm gonna sound so dramatic, but who cares? It really felt like two souls connecting.
That's a bit drastic, but sure.
Just go with me here, bro.
I just go.
Go with the flow. But like, we had so much stuff in common as well. We had similar outlooks to a certain degree, similar interests, especially the interest thing is to this day not something that I regularly encounter. I don't really meet a lot of people that have the same interest as me. I don't know what it is. I mean, I also know that I pick and choose my friends rather based on values than on interests. But still, for me, that was really cool. And so we kept on talking, and we kept on talking, and we kept on talking. And suddenly it's 12 p.m.
So you basically did call for...
8 hours.
8 hours.
I know for a fact that we called for 8 hours.
Oh my God.
And the only...
That is so long. Like, that is longer. That is 4 times the average first date basically goes. 4 times longer than that.
We essentially had a first date on the phone.
No, you basically had the first 4 dates.
I'm sorry
just by calling.
I'm sorry that you've been on such terrible dates.
Crazy to say that when you were just before calling him, you were on like such a bad date that you didn't even want to finish your drink in his presence.
No, we called for 8 hours, and I think the only reason, I mean, we didn't sleep. Even though we had taken melatonin, both of us were so tired. And I remember that the sun came up at some point, and I was just like, oh my God. And we kept on going. We didn't want to hang up. And the only reason why we hung up was because he had to get ready to go back to work.
No way. So you're telling me he basically did work, then call you, and then go back to work?
Yeah, I'm being so for real. I mean, he got home, and then I think maybe an hour, 1.5 of texting after his shift. And then I think maybe an hour before he had to leave again, we hung up.
This is so crazy.
He actually started calling me his second job as a joke after that. But he did it in a cute way.
It's good when it's in a cute way, though.
Not like in a sense of he has to do so much for me, but rather in a sense of that, he was just investing so much time in me, which he liked.
Even before the first date, he was already exhausted by you.
No. Shut up. I actually remember a couple of days later, and a couple of days before the date, we were texting back and forth, and he had said as a joke that on the day that we had our date, he had a job interview. And what he meant to say as a joke was kind of like he was interviewing with me, and he was going back on the reference that I was a second job. And I didn't get it. I got really mad because I was like, what do you mean you have a job interview and you're just cancelling the date? I was so mad.
This is so girly pop of you.
It really is.
That's just like your average moment, basically.
I didn't even consider why the fuck he would have a date on a Sunday. I was just like, no. So we texted more. I mean, it was a week between him asking for my number and then us going on a date. And in that week, we texted nonstop. We called all the time. At one point, I got off work around the time that he was going to work, and I didn't work too far away from him at the time. And we just randomly and spontaneously met up for like 10 minutes and just kind of walked around.
But that is so cute.
Right?
When you're like both very invested into each other.
It really felt extremely investing. Like, it really felt like someone that I liked me back. And it was really nice. So we were texting all the time, we were calling all the time, and I think one of the things that I just immensely appreciated about him was that he was making me laugh all the time. I really loved his humor. I felt like he was listening to me, I felt like he was taking me like incredibly seriously, and at the same time he was making me laugh a lot. And it just, I cannot stress this enough, the emotional intimacy was sky high.
I feel like, especially when the humor is quite fitting
Yes.
to each other, you know, it's like a very good sign that you like have really good chemistry.
For sure. And yeah, so we go on a date. We meet up, we go for coffee, and we go for an early dinner after that. And I remember a couple of things. First of all, he was interrupting me the entire time, and I hated it. I already hate that. I hate it even more if a man is doing that on a date. I hated it. It also felt like the intimacy that we had was easier on the phone than in person, but it was still there. And then I remember one other core thing, which was I could barely breathe. The chemistry was intense. I think you could have cut it with a knife. No matter what this man was doing, really, I think at one point he actually just like grabbed his shoulder to massage himself, and I could not breathe. It was so intense. It really was so intense. I at some point had to excuse myself, go to the toilet, and run cold water over my wrists and just kind of like calm the fuck down. I was like,
Damn, you were just so into him at that
I was so into him. I was so intensely into him. The emotional intimacy that we had created over the phone. I mean, it had happened so quickly and it was so intense. I keep repeating myself, but I cannot. You really have to, like, understand, you know?
I'm trying my best to understand you all this.
He's trying so hard. You're just kind of like, what the fuck is going on? What is she doing? No, and then he eventually caught on what was happening with me at dinner, and then he would, like, put his leg against mine, but, like, it was all very PG-13. He wasn't doing anything, like, dirty underneath the table. He would just rest his knee against mine, and he could sense how I couldn't eat. It was really intense. It was electrifying. I don't know why, but I just lost all thought. I lost the ability to breathe. I lost the ability to really do anything. I was just so, like hormones were crushing through me.
Mesmerized by just his touch, basically.
And his presence. It was
yeah.
wild. So, you know, we pay, we leave, and it's kind of like clear that we're going back to my place. And then he breaks the magic of it all by like asking if I have condoms. And like, listen, we've talked about this before. Appreciate a man who's taking responsibility. Don't know why he didn't bring condoms, but appreciate a man who isn't just assuming, right? But he did it in such an abrupt way. And for me at the point, with all of the emotional intimacy that we had created, I felt like there might have been different intentions going into this date.
I see.
I said this. I felt like souls were connecting.
Yeah.
And with him just saying, like, do you have condoms? That was him, like, really making it intently clear he's here to have sex, and that's it. Or at least that's what it felt like.
Probably that's what it felt like to you, but I feel like it's not even like a bad intention, of course, behind that.
Not necessarily.
But maybe it just feels a little bit disappointing in the way you like describe it, how kind of magical it was before, like how romantic it was.
Yeah.
And that's kind of not super romantic, but maybe he could have like asked it in a better way, probably. But on the other hand, I don't really think you can make this question really romantic.
I think that he could have said, listen, I'm not trying to assume anything. I'm not saying anything has to happen. I just want to make sure that we are prepared in case we want to go there. Do you have condoms? I think he could have said that. And that would have not been romantic, but it would have been a lot less like, I'm here to have sex.
Yeah, I know. Okay, yeah,
I
see what you like.
It was the issue in the phrasing.
Yeah.
The issue was in the way that it came across rather than the fact that he took the responsibility to ask.
It came more across like, I want to sleep with you, and it could have sounded like, I want to sleep with you if you also want to.
Yeah, Because I mean, I have been on dates with guys since then, before that, whatever, where it was very clear from the get-go what the intentions were, and it was very clear that we were only meeting up to have sex. And then when we eventually went back to my place, the guys would still ask in a very respectful way, like, hey, I'm not trying to assume anything, you know, but I just want us to be prepared just in case. Do you have condoms at home? If not, maybe let's go buy some, you know, go back to my place, whatever. So I just think it felt like he was cutting up the entire magic, but I felt the shift happen, but I wasn't as good at detecting my feelings and then going off them at the time. And I couldn't really name it in the moment. And so I just kind of, you know, I went along with it. And I did want to have sex. That's not the thing. It's not that I didn't want to have sex. So we go back to my place. He immediately pulls me closer. And I kind of like push him off because I am so overwhelmed. I'm just like, holy crap, because we had built up so much emotional intimacy, and suddenly like to translate that into physical touch out of nowhere that like immediately goes into sex, that is just that is almost too quick for me. So I'm sitting on my chair, he's sitting on my bed, we're kind of like a little further away, and I'm just kind of looking at him, and he's like amused.
Like a hunter looking.
No, I wasn't like a hunter, I was almost just like in fear, like, I'm trying to not freak out. And he just kind of looks at me amused, you know, he's making sure I'm okay. And then after a while, when I calm down, pulls me closer, my legs are in between his, our thighs are brushing, his hands are entangled in my hair, on my cheek, they're everywhere. And then he pulls me closer, and then we kissed, and it felt so hot. It felt really hot. And then he did, listen, I'm not going to go into too much detail with the sex thing.
Thank you.
But I will say one thing in the beginning. I have to say this for the girlies that will understand. This was one of the hottest things maybe that a man has done. And I say this, like every episode, but who cares?
Who cares? Okay, wait, I have to get my notes out and write it down.
I don't know if Sophie will appreciate this. She's a very kind of different girl than I am.
I don't even know if anyone else would appreciate it though.
No, I think they will, because I've talked to most of my girlfriends since then, and most of them found this quite hot. So I was wearing a skirt, and I was still sitting on the chair, and he kind of pulls back from the makeout, and he pushes up my skirt, and he goes like, let me see what kind of color underwear you're wearing. And I don't know why, but that was so hot. And then he noticed like what brand I was wearing, and the fact that he could like figure out what brand I was wearing was also so hot. And he said it, and he was like, oh, purple lounge, so nice. And I don't know why, but that was so hot.
He's an expert.
That was
ran through.
That was like an attention to detail that I'm just not really used to with men. So did you want to say something?
Go on.
To summarize the sex, because I did say I wasn't going to go into too much further detail. The vibe was insanely hot. The sex was hot. Technique was bad. Technique was disappointing, to say the least. It was a mix between, he was calling me tempting because he kind of had to be someplace, but he just couldn't really get away. We couldn't like keep our hands off each other. It was that intense. But then also we had an argument at some point, and this was going to be the first of many, many arguments to follow. We had an argument because we were nearing the end of the time that we had together. Neither of us had finished, and he was making this big case for himself why it was worse for him than for me. Red flag, my fucking god. And he would not back down. And then when I was defending myself, when I was trying to explain, like, even if it is biologically different, it still sucks.
Yeah, it definitely would suck.
It still sucks. He would like cut me off, and he would just kind of say that I shouldn't like make an entire discussion about this, even though he was making an argument out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why you would want to have an orgasm.
Don't we all?
But everyone wants this, I guess. But I mean, as a man, I do not think it's that bad. Like, not to have an orgasm, or like,
right?
Not to come. It's also like depending on what kind of sex you're having.
Oh, for sure.
But to me, it's not that very important.
For me, it's also not one of the most important things. I think there are other things that are much more important. But I think for me, if he wants to get me off, it's a sign of like wanting to make sure I'm okay as well. I want him to want me to finish. It doesn't matter if I want to, and I'm not saying I have to. I'm just saying I want him to want it.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, there's like a lot of reasons why it wouldn't work.
He should value it just as much as his own.
I think just being so thoughtful.
So thoughtful, bare minimum.
I think it's a bare minimum to
It's-
like think about the
yeah.
other person at this moment, of course.
Also, to not make an entire argument out of it. The disrespect and the embarrassment. For
Definitely.
him. The embarrassment. So, anyway, like I said, it was like a back and forth, but we still left things on a good note. Because after that, we made out again. It was like the same with the chemistry and couldn't keeping our hands off each other. And he really had to like leave. It was really difficult for both of us to just kind of say goodbye. And then the aftermath, in which he starts getting really flaky and not responding to my texts as much. And I'm still seeing him at the bar, and sometimes he flirts with me and sometimes he just works, which I kind of get, you know, sometimes you're busy, whatever, especially on the weekend, no worries. But he's not initiating to see me again, and it really just felt dropped, and I didn't appreciate it at all. I mean, at some point I went to him and I confronted him with that, and he was just kind of like, oh, yeah, I started noticing that I associate you with work now, and work is so stressful. And I was like, I'm sorry, are you surprised that you are seeing your regular customer regularly? I'm just, how is this
Yeah,
a
it's like-
surprise?
How is he surprised about that?
How did you not
But, like-
think this through before you asked for my number?
I mean, this just sounds like a cheap way out of this.
It really
a
does.
way.
I do really think that he did feel that way at that point, but I think there could have been a lot better ways of handling it.
And I think it's quite difficult to understand this exact point, especially in your situation at the time, because of the way you just texted and even called.
Yeah.
It felt very
Yes.
intimate.
Yes.
And then, you know, the way he like just dropped you. So
Out of nowhere, he really did.
it's really hard to understand these things, especially when you're the one getting dropped.
I think one of the big issues with that as well was just the communication, because we didn't really have a conversation about intentions until we were already in bed together. I think even afterwards. I think that conversation should have happened so much earlier, and it didn't. And so I think one of the really bad things that just happened was that I had a completely different picture of what was going to happen than he did. Yeah, I wasn't necessarily thinking this would end in a relationship. I didn't know enough about the man to be certain I wanted to be in a relationship with him, but I did think we were gonna date to figure that out. I wasn't aware until we had a conversation that was completely off the table for him for whatever reason.
Mm.
And so the aftermath just felt kind of cruel, even though we had that conversation. What did you want to say?
I just feel like I can relate to it.
Oh.
But I'm not like...
Oh.
But I'm
We
like-
were just thinking about like something that happened to him. We're not gonna go into the details.
No, but I think it's...
But now I remember.
I feel like a lot of people can actually relate to this.
Yeah, probably.
Like a lot of people that I know.
Which is so unfortunate, because all of that could have just been resolved up front with a talk.
Yeah.
And I will say I should have had that talk as well. I'm not just saying he should have said something. I should have talked to him about what I'm thinking and feeling ahead of time.
Personally, I don't think it's bad to even on the first date talk about your intentions.
Yeah.
About the way you both want to interact with each other in terms of dating.
Yes.
If you just have like already know like what you can expect and not expect, I think you can handle it better emotionally.
For sure. I still understand, though, what was happening with him. Like, at that point, a month or two had passed since our date. And I was okay with it. I didn't want to see him again because the vibe of sex was really hot. But, okay, oh well. You know, we still get on really well. I still see him regularly at the bar. And so when he doesn't have a busy shift, we still, like, talk while he works. We joke around. I'm also starting to befriend his colleagues. Sometimes him and I just really like argue to a really bad extent, and I remember that one of his colleagues was just like kind of looking at us like, okay, because they didn't know that we had sex, obviously, and for them, I think we were just like a weird customer bartender thing that just always argued.
Like the old married
Yeah,
couple that just argues every single
a
time.
little like that. Like, yeah. Yeah, and then we have the return of Onyx because, well, they always come back.
They always do.
Months went by, months since that date. I was in a really stressful time at that point in my life, and he starts texting me. And I'm so confused. And then I figure out why. I call him, obviously. What else would I do?
You did call him.
What else would
right
I
on
do?
the spot.
We talked, and he was being his charming self. He was being the man that could create emotional intimacy. He was pulling out all of the stops, and I could feel that it was working. And I was telling him, like, this crushed me. You broke my trust. This really sucked what you did. Even if you just wanted sex, to just drop me out of nowhere without, like, really talking to me about it, that just sucks. And he was apologizing, and he was explaining. He was saying that work was so stressful, but it was different now. Spoiler alert, it wasn't.
It's never different.
It's never different. But it's different now, and things have changed, and work is not stressful. And, he wants to see me again.
And what did you do? You did drop him, blocked him on everything, and you never called him back.
Well, no. We meet up again. He wanted to have dinner first. I was like, bro, no, just come over. I was actually on a date, and the date was, he was a nice guy, but it wasn't going anywhere. And so I just broke off the date, and I texted Onyx, and I was like, do you want to come over? And he was like, okay, fine. And so Onyx comes over, and, we do the thing. And, what can I say? It was basically the exact same thing as the beginning, just a little less hot, because obviously the intensity was, like, the magic was gone.
And you know what was going to come afterwards? Like the argument in bed.
Yeah, and we argued again, and I just remember thinking to myself, I'm never going to sleep with this man again. I swear to myself, and I really don't say this a lot. I don't make forever promises or whatever, but in that moment I just thought to myself, I have learned my lesson and I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to be pulled back.
Spoilers.
No, I didn't sleep with him again. I did not.
Oh, cheers to this.
Cheers to that. Yeah, and so, you know what's going to happen next. I knew what was going to happen next. I was prepared. It still hurt.
Well, if I would have to guess, I'm guessing he did drop you again.
Well, he was surprised again that he sees his regularly. Wow.
Wow, nobody could have expected that one.
No one could have expected that one. And the same thing happened again, just this time it was worse, because this time he started dreaming of me sexually. And every time he had a dream, he would add me on Snapchat and he would text me about the dream.
This is kind of cute, but it is really creepy in a way.
Cute, but make it creepy.
Yeah, but it's also like very manipulative.
Yeah, because he keeps like initiating intimacy whenever, like on his terms, and he knows that I have difficulty staying away from him. I like the attention. I like knowing what he was thinking. And so he adds me on Snapchat. Mind you, there is a reason why this man loved Snapchat. That is because he did not like his messages to be saved anywhere. If we were on WhatsApp, he would send like the one-time pictures and he would write on that picture, so he didn't have the message in our chat.
Oh, okay, this is another red flag.
This is so creepy. So he adds me on Snapchat. He texts me about his dream. I'm into it, whatever. Like at that point, obviously everything that I had gone through with him hurt. Please don't get me wrong. But it also, in the grand scheme of things, with everything that was going on in my life, he wasn't that important. It wasn't that big of a deal. Like I was thinking of other things. So obviously in the way that I'm telling the story, he is the big focus, and it really is like glaring obvious, like why did you not drop him? But at the time, I was hurt and then I forgot again, right? Like because it wasn't, it wasn't like I'm trying to get over like an ex, and I'm not trying to get over a relationship with anyone. It hurt. Then I had another guy that I was thinking about or whatever. So it really was just only like a small thing over and over and over again, but with like long pauses in between. And that is really vital to understand why it kept going. So he would text me about his dream. I was into it. I was into the attention. We would text back and forth, and who would have thought we would argue? And he would say like the same shit over and over again, where he was like telling me to not argue because he didn't want to hear my point of view, because he knew I was right. He has told me that he knew I was right, and that's why he didn't want.
But why would you still argue then? That sounds so...
No, because we didn't continue arguing. So it went like 1 or 2 arguments on both sides, and then he would unadd me on Snapchat and just completely break off the contact.
Wait, this happened multiple times?
This happened multiple times.
This sounds so bad.
It was so bad.
But Why would you give him that much space even in your life?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The
But was it-
texting, yeah.
But just because he wasn't like that important to you.
I wasn't invested in him anymore as much. He was just a guy that was texting me at that point. Yeah, I had slept with him, but it kind of felt, and the more he did it, the more ridiculous it felt. Where, oh, Onyx is back and he's texting me yet again about the fact that he dreamt about me. It just felt, and I could feel myself getting more and more distant the more he kept doing this. But again, I had so much going on in my life that it wasn't that big of a deal. It was ridiculous. I could see the red flags, but I had already established to myself that I wasn't going to sleep with him again. He was just some ridiculous bartender that kept texting me when he was dreaming about me. And it was also immensely fun to go to the bar and like he serves me a drink and I know that he just dreamt of me last night.
Oh yeah, wait, I can remember this. Oh yeah, I can remember. That was actually funny.
Right?
But I mean, it kind of felt a little bit cruel, but not like it wasn't deserved in a way.
So he did sometimes text me like what he thought of me being at the bar, like the good things. He, like how hot I looked, whatever, what he wanted to do to me. And I like that attention, I will say. Like, to know that you have that effect on someone, people don't, especially men, don't usually outright in detail tell you what effect you have on them, but he did, and that was mesmerizing. I didn't want to lose that at the time. I really liked it.
Like the appreciation and, just the attention that you were getting from him.
Yeah, but it continued and it got more and more annoying, especially because at the bar, sometimes he would flirt with me and talk to me, and sometimes he wouldn't even treat me as a customer. Sometimes he would just completely ignore me and only talk to me if I made a move, and I would essentially only talk to his colleagues. And it felt very cruel. Like, it felt more intense than it did the first time. And then it got to a tipping point. At some point, I was there with a friend of mine, and he tells me that he's gonna leave the job. And he tells me when, and I'm like joking with him, flirting, whatever. And I'm saying like, oh, then I know to expect a message on this and this date, like the first date after he leaves the job. I was saying, well, then the stress of the job is gone, so I know to expect a message.
Did he text you then?
Well, before I get to that point, I did want to say I was also surprised that he told me that he was going to leave, because at that point I really thought that he would just not tell me and then suddenly just not be at the bar anymore and I would hear it from colleagues. A couple of months go by again, and then it's the first date of after like he left the job, and I wake up. He had added me back on Snapchat.
What a surprise.
What a surprise. And he had sent me a photo that I definitely did not want to see.
Oh, so it was like something explicit.
Yes.
All right.
And that was my turning point. It's just, it's the last straw that broke the camel's back. I was done. I just felt, you know what? I actually don't want to do this. Because before that it was words, and I really appreciate words, but the picture was too much. I did not want to...
It did dismantle the magic that was kind of built around it.
Yeah.
Around the flirting that you two had.
It definitely did. It made it too sexual. It made it too real. It made it... I didn't like it. And so I just, without a comment, without an explanation, I blocked him everywhere. Instagram, Snapchat.
Yes, you should.
I know I told you guys about this as well.
Yeah, I can remember this now.
So a couple of months go by again. I'm not really thinking much of him. Sometimes I am, and I'm just like, I'm glad I blocked him. He comes crawling back. Of course he does.
Because they always come back.
They always come back. I opened Snapchat one day after a couple of months of blocking him, and I see someone is trying to add me with his name, and it turns out that he had created a second Snapchat account. He told me afterwards that he didn't do that to get my attention. He deleted his other one for other reasons, but he did want to reach out to me, and he apologized profusely. He said that he felt extremely ashamed that he had gotten out of that mindset that he was in. He's living a completely different life. He was living a completely different life at that point. And he felt extremely ashamed. And he was apologizing. And I was just not buying it.
In your situation, I wouldn't believe in any of his words, to be honest.
Yeah, I had no reason to believe him. And I remember that I asked him a couple of questions about it, and his explanations were kind of okay. I mean, he also told me that it was torture for him to not have me on Instagram or something. And I literally said, you only want to have me on Instagram because you want to see my butt, because I've got a couple of pictures of my ass on there. I really said that to him, and he was like, no, he wants to be closer to me again. And I actually, no, but the thing is that the more I talk to him, the more I actually think that he did want that. So I think essentially, he really noticed what he did wrong. And I was stuck, I was torn between feeling happy that he saw it and that he apologized, and being mad because if he saw that what he did was wrong, if he saw that I was right the entire time, that is just somewhat more infuriating. But I really do think that he felt sorry. And I also saw for myself that just because he then saw that what he did was wrong, just because he felt the shame, doesn't mean that he was changed. He was at the beginning of changing.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't changed, but I mean, this was kind of probably the point where he did realize that what he did was not correct or not the right way.
Yeah. You know, just because they realized what they did was bad doesn't necessarily mean that they won't do it again, because at our core, we are people who behave based on our patterns that we have learned, and you need to unlearn the patterns. And I could see that he hadn't done any of the work to work on his patterns. It seemed like he wanted to do the work. It seemed like he wanted to go to therapy. He really was taking responsibility, is what I'm saying. But just because he's taking responsibility doesn't mean that he's changed. And that's when I decided for myself, you know, okay, you can follow me on Instagram, whatever. I texted him like, you know, respectfully, I cannot be in contact with you.
Yeah, I can remember this. It was quite a long message, even though, in my opinion, it was even too much effort.
Nah, again, I think at the end of the day, we're all humans and we do make mistakes.
Personally, I think I wouldn't be that patient with him in your situation.
I know that you wouldn't have, but I think for me, I know that people obviously keep hearing about how I'm almost hurting myself over and over again in these dating experiences. But obviously, I have experiences outside of dating where this value system works for me. Because you have hurt me a couple of times as well in our friendship. And I think if I had more of a black and white thinking, I would have ended the friendship with you. But because of my value system, I'm saying, you know what, no, I want to, like, we all make mistakes, you know? And I saw that you were sorry, because obviously you didn't do it on purpose. But I decided for myself, okay, I'm going to give you another chance. And I did. And now we're really good friends again. And I'm really happy about that.
I think the context is still very different.
Of course.
Between someone you have like slept with twice or like something like that. Of course. I mean, the value system that you follow works for you. I would do it differently. Yeah. But I mean, that's probably no right or wrong you can do in these kinds of things.
And I what I remember as well is that you and Sophie were really proud that I cut off contact with him again. Yeah, and now we come to the part that Flo doesn't know. No, Flo like legit does not know this. He actually got a completely different
I got the good ending.
He got a different document in preparation for this episode.
Oh my god.
He does not know this. Sophie, no one knows this.
I'm being fooled.
So after I broke off contact, I immediately texted him again.
Oh my god.
Like, we're talking 2 minutes. Listen, there's a really good reason why I didn't tell you in the beginning. And then I just thought, you know what? I might as well just tell him on the podcast.
It's good material.
It's good material. The reason why I didn't tell you that I texted him again is because I knew in that moment I needed to do something that you guys wouldn't understand. And I didn't want to explain myself. And I didn't want you guys to talk me out of it. I knew I could sense he wasn't different. But I needed to see it. And so I asked him if he could meet up. And we did.
So
Flo is so stunned right now.
I mean, I didn't know about this, but knowing that unless you did actually keep this to yourself for quite some time now, that he hasn't changed and it didn't work out. That's like my prediction for it.
Okay, well I'm gonna tell the story now then.
Yeah, tell the story. Oh my God.
So he did make time for me, and he was extremely adamant of making time for me, even though sometimes he can be quite busy, because he was essentially like, whatever you need, right? Like, I wanna make this good for you, because again, he was really apologetic with everything that happened. And we met up after work one time, and we just kind of walked around, sat outside, whatever, and just talked. And I told him how mad and hurt I had been with, like, at the individual points were kind of forgivable, but in the grand scheme of things, it was too much. And he apologized again, and he started explaining a lot about his life. I'm not going to explain what he told me, that's his thing, but I'm going to say I was appreciative that he told me this because it gave me a better insight into him as a person. He didn't necessarily have to tell me, and I'm grateful that he did, because it really did show me this man did not change. This man wants to change. He's on the verge of changing, but he did not change yet. And I could still feel the chemistry when we were together. It still really did feel intoxicating. And I also did tell him that I was mad that he reached out again because it just felt like he reopened something that I had closed. I was really mad at the time. But seeing him helped me immensely. And I was right to see him because I could just sense he had not changed. And we have been in contact ever since.
Wait, so you're still in contact? Like,
We're still in contact.
You're calling or texting or like?
Just texting. We're not calling.
Okay.
We're not calling. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. And it's not sexual because I'm done. I've told him that. It's platonic. It's only platonic between us. And it's just nice to be in contact with them because there we come back to the value system of like take the intimacy that you want, but like take the distance that you need. And it really is just that. I'm not emotionally invested in him anymore. I got out of that like intoxication. I can just see him for what he is, which is a human that makes mistakes and is struggling and has some good sides that I enjoy. He also doesn't he doesn't argue with me or anything. He has changed in that regard. He's very like more level-headed. And I think it helps that we don't have that intense intimacy anymore for him to be that level-headed. He hears me out. It's really only the good sides now. And I have said we do have like common things.
You have like interests together.
Yeah. So that is nice. I mean, he's essentially just morphed into someone that I'm not that invested in anymore. He's an NPC, is what he is. It really is like that, and it's not that.
That sounds so cruel.
I have forgiven him for what happened. That doesn't mean that I'm willing to re-enter the same level of intimacy. He knows this. I'm very aware of that. He could do it again. But I also think that I've learned. I think I would break it off again if he did. So far he hasn't, and I mean, it's been a couple of months now. And I'm not letting him back on that same level of intimacy. Well, at least for now. I cannot say for years. I still plan on never sleeping with him again. Never say never, but I'm planning on it.
I mean, you know, he can change, though. Everyone can change. I think, personally, when I look back, like, just half a year or even a year, I'm like a totally different person.
Yeah.
So it is definitely possible for him as well to change.
I think so. So that was
interesting.
Onyx. I mean, I feel like usually at this point we do like a
kiss, marry, kill.
No, the red flag segment.
Oh, the red flag things, yeah.
Well, I feel like we've named them.
We already named.
We did,
a few
for sure.
Red flags. We can make a quick rundown, for example.
Feel free.
Like, okay, red flags for him is like his inconsistency in the way he drops you, but then comes back.
The
for
hot
example.
and cold. The
hot and coldness.
Over-sexualizing me.
Over-sexualizing is probably a red flag too, especially when you wanted to have like a more emotionally intimacy. The
argument regarding that his orgasm is more important than mine because he's a man. Red flag is for sure.
Like the arguing overall.
Yeah.
I think it's a red flag. That's like something, you know, when you're not really getting along, you argue.
Telling me to shut my mouth when we did. Any red flags that I showed?
I mean, I want to say giving him a second chance, but you gave him like 5 chances. I can say 5 red flags for giving him 5 chances, I guess.
Fair enough. I know that's the way you view things.
Yeah. And one red flag is like not making your dating intentions clear.
Yes,
in the beginning. I think that's like probably confusing for him as well.
Take some responsibility, girl. I should have. I'm with you on that.
I think we have elaborated like
we've elaborated enough.
The other things as well already.
Yeah.
So I think that was just like a quick rundown.
Well, before we get to Kiss, Marry, Kill, I did want to say 2 more things. First of all, I still don't quite remember why I called him Onyx, but I think it essentially had something...
I think it had to do something with the stone itself, because it was like a calmness, but also being like mystery or something, or like
something dark
attraction.
I will say ChatGPT gave me this as a suggestion, and I was just like, hell yeah.
I think I didn't like the name in the beginning.
You rarely
when it was
do.
So I can say this with certainty. But I didn't like it in the beginning. And I mean, I'm not really into crystals or any stones or whatever, so...
Yeah, but that's essentially why we called him Onyx. I do think the name is quite fitting, I will say. I see that for him. I will say what I wanted to say from the get-go. I do feel like I owe that explanation as to why he kicked off the hoe phase, because I don't think it necessarily became crystal clear with me saying this. Before meeting him, I didn't know how to flirt, like I said in the beginning. And because he was someone, for the first time in my life, that actually voiced everything, worded everything, told me what effect I had on him. He told me not only was I desirable, but also that I was tempting him, so it wasn't necessarily the other way round. It felt like, from the way he was explaining this, that I had the control. And he was telling me how I flirted. He was telling me what exactly I did that was so mesmerizing to him. And that was the very first time that I felt like I could actually take control, like properly control in my dating life. I also think that a lot had led up to that point for me to even get into the hoe phase. And we will touch on that actually in 2 episodes.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We will talk about this. But for now I can say this was the man that told me how I flirted. He didn't teach me, but he told me how I flirted. And that is why after the first time I hooked up with him, I was letting go, I was letting loose. That was the end for all humankind, and I was going out about it. That really was the starting point.
The poor man.
Nah. But it really did start a lot. Suddenly I could actually actively flirt.
Yeah, I mean, I did also like notice the change in your behavior.
Right.
Going more out of your like own and actually kind of going all the way to like flirt with men and kind of getting what you want to get, I guess. It definitely did help your confidence.
And I pretty much got every guy that I wanted since then.
So...
Or I'm still working on them.
You're still working on them? So basically, so you know kind of your strength. Well, what you can do to be more attractive or be more flirty with other men. And it's also knowing this, of course, gives you the knowledge to kind of use it to shift it into your favor, the situations. Sure. And also gives you the confidence because it works, and every time it's going to work again, it will build up this confidence even more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This kind of feels like one of the pickup line guys.
Real. We need to stop giving men a mic. Flo, I'm sorry, I need to take your mic away. No, but it really is, and I will say this was the first bartender I did something with, but it was for sure not the last, because he kickstarted something.
It will never be the last.
It will never be the last, no, and he for sure kickstarted something. Well, anyway, future episodes, look forward to that. Kiss, Marry, Kill, you know the deal.
Does it even make sense to make Kiss, Marry, Kill when you're like still texting?
I really thought long and hard today, like what my verdict would be.
I mean, for me, it's quite simple and clear that I would kill him, basically, as my choice. But now, after everything that you've told me, I'm not feeling 100% confident saying this. But just like with what I've known prior to this episode, I would definitely stay on kill with my final verdict.
Well, as someone that has experienced it all and knew of this before the episode.
At least
I didn't keep it a secret from myself. I'm gonna go with kill, because what him and I now have is platonic, and we're talking about the romantic and sexual thing for me, and when we're talking about that, for me it's a kill. I'm not interested anymore.
Girl, I'm so glad you did this choice.
Flo was waiting in anticipation for this episode.
I'm like sitting here being very patient.
Yeah, no, but it's a kill for me. I think it's time to end it, isn't it?
I think it's time to end.
So that's my thoughts and feelings regarding Onyx. Thank you, Flo, again, for being here.
Glad to join you as always.
You will be back for the 9th episode.
Of course I will be
for
back.
For the whole phase discussion.
For the whole phase discussion, I will be back.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I really appreciate it, as always. And if you liked today's episode, do leave a comment, or maybe share it with someone that you think would like it as well. Hit follow so you don't miss any future episodes, because there is still so much to tell. And socials are linked, as always, if you want more of that behind-the-scenes stuff. Because sometimes I really like to post stuff of Flo and Sophie and I going out. It's always fun. In 2 weeks, my second special guest will be on the pod to discuss a magical story, so maybe join then as well. We are now actually going to go over to Sophie and show her this last part of the episode, because she also doesn't know what happened with Onyx. And until then, maybe start a little chaos and text me the details. Bye!
Bye-bye!